seeing how art can affect and change the world. And that's definitely what I'm excited about and what keeps me returning to body painting, and kind of infusing it with all the different aspects of my life that I'm creating and discovering. And I think that the world today, like we're stepping away from a single pointed focus of like, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life and this is all I'm going to do. But seeing that the world requires different viewpoints and different combinations of things. And so that's what I'm very excited about and enthusiastic about of how can we take body painting and yoga and dance and movement and performance and art and like what happens when we mash it all together and create something that the world hasn't seen before. Zachary, New York for the past almost 11 years now. Wow. From Portland, Oregon. Came here to be an actor on the stage and screen, perhaps. And I found that I'm much more interested in creating art than necessarily participating in other spaces of already created art. So I'm interested in the creation process. So like mostly movement and dance and physical theater has been what I've been doing a lot of. All sorts of things, kind of a jack of all trades, master of none, actor, dancer, mover, singer, body paint model, yoga teacher, newly minted. Lots of different things that I like to kind of try and piece together in new ways to find a way of interacting and being in the world.
How did you find me?
Well, I found a video on Facebook of a camouflage that you were painting. That turned into a marriage proposal, which was just beautiful. I was blown away just by the camouflage and just like the heart behind all of it. And I sent you a message and I said, hey, I want to be in on this. So if you ever need another paint model, let me know.
Yeah.
And you were doing auditions at the time, I think, or looking for another person for your team. So you invited me for a test paint to do a Bob Ross. So I went to the basement of this art studio and sat, and you had Bob Ross playing on your laptop to the side, and then just painted Bob Ross's painting on my chest.
just to paint along. Make some happy little clouds. I painted 62 paintings for that series. Bob Ross had just come out on Netflix. So I was binge watching the series and doing the paint alongs to all the episodes that were at that time on Netflix. Now they probably added more, and I don't have that kind of attention span. His soothing voice makes me fall asleep. Yes. How do you think New York's changed you?
I think it has allowed me to discover a whole lot more of who I am, because in Portland, maybe I fit in a little bit. You know, I blend into the background of just like what the lifestyle is like there. Whereas when I come to New York, suddenly I'm noticing the contrast between who I am and how the world works out here. And I see things that work and I see things that don't work for me. And I think it's kind of allowed me to shape myself and discover and create who I am and who I want to be. I'm in a different way.
Yeah, I had a really similar experience too, because I came here maybe 5 years ago. And I definitely felt like things were going really well in San Francisco Bay Area, you know, but it moves at a slower pace on the West Coast. Very much. But as soon as I got here, it's like this pressure cooker, and people are not nice to you, and things move really fast. And if you're on time, you're late. Those were not things that were easy adjustments for me. I still don't have an easy time with that. Yeah,
it's a challenge, but I think there's pluses and minuses, but I think New York has a special energy to it that you don't just show up in New York. You're like, I'm going to move to New York because I want to move to New York. Like, you move to New York because you have a passion and you have a dream and something that you want to create. And so you have a city full of people who are moving here with a very specific kind of energy and intention, which I think creates almost like an electric field to play in that creates possibilities that might not be available other places. And, again, there's pluses and minuses. Like, you're single pointed to focus, you don't really see the periphery and you have to have that focus. But But yeah, I think it creates a kind of magic for the city.
Since you've lived here for so long, if there was a place that you could get camouflaged anywhere in New York, where would it be?
Anywhere in New York. I think my favorite place in New York is probably the Cathedral of St. John the Divine.
It is quite lovely.
It's so incredible just to be in a city of so little space.
Yes.
Where you're always confined by people or by buildings.
Yes.
And then you just have this pocket, this incredible Gothic cathedral that doesn't feel like it fits into the city at all. And you step in and it's just space.
Yeah.
Which feels so interesting, again, in this city that is slightly claustrophobic. But it's such a beautiful, sacred, incredible place. I think it'd be pretty amazing to be camouflaged there.
Surprisingly conservative and yet also like feminist and hippie, I guess, is my background. And then I was like way more liberal than anybody else in my family, maybe. So for me to walk into St. John the Divine and see artwork by contemporary artists in the space, and to see people of multiple faiths welcomed to dialogue, and the support, especially during like the AIDS crisis of the 80s, and like how they're continuing to work with right now on the ground with people like suffering with AIDS. Like, to me, like that trifecta made me feel really at home right away inside of St. John the Divine.
It is really beautiful. The acceptance, the sacredness, the art, how all of those kind of combine in a really beautiful way.
Yeah. What does it feel like to get body painted?
For me, it's a very kind of meditative state. I mean, because a painting can take anywhere from like an hour and a half to, I think we did one that was like, 10 hours long or something like that. One of them, it took a full day. The airplane. That was a full
human sculptures
process.
Can be beasts.
Yeah.
That's right.
So you just really have to, and you can't move during that time. I mean, you might be able to take a couple breaks, but
to lean.
Yeah. But it's just like standing and breathing and transforming, but in a way that you're not really aware of. Like, because I can't necessarily see. I mean, I can look down at my body and see different things, but I can't take in the whole of what I'm becoming.
Right. Right. You don't know.
I don't know.
I could be painting anything.
Yeah.
Like, you're just like, I'm telling you I'm gonna do this thing, but really I could do, like, I could make you into like a giant penis.
Well, it's fun to be like painted in public too, because I'm being painted and I'm having the sensory experience of like, I feel it's like cats licking me, like paintbrushes all over. And I still don't.
It's true. It does feel that way.
I don't know what I am becoming, but then if it's being done in public, other people see it, and so it's this interesting like mirror reflection where I'm seeing the reaction of other people without knowing exactly what they're seeing.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's a really interesting way of like experiencing myself. But I mean, my favorite thing about body painting, I think, is that it challenges people's assumptions of the world. You can't take things for granted.
Yeah.
Getting painted in public and people walking by and doing like a second glance, a second take, and they're like, wait, what's going on? Like, that's not what you expect to see. And I think in this world where right now, like, we're holding so tight to our identities and that things are things and ideas are ideas, and like, this is a microphone and this is a shirt and I'm a person, and we have these solid constructs that aren't actually solid in real life. Like, I'm a process. My skin is porous. Like, the things that I'm saying right now are going into you. Like, we are in relationship. And I think body painting kind of takes away, first of all, the boundaries, especially if you're doing a camouflage. Like, you're basically putting a person in the environment, and we're not separate from our environments. Like, we can't exist without it, but we think of ourselves as separate, like coming into this world rather than coming out of it. And with your camouflages, you're painting a reality, right? It's an illusion, but it's more real than anything else, because we are our environments.
Yeah, we are. It's absolutely true. And
it makes people kind of take a second look and see that things aren't always as they appear, which I think we need to do more of in this world. Before we jump to assumptions and jump to conclusions or opinions, it's helpful to kind of take a step back and see that there are other ways to see things. Yeah,
it's really interesting that you say that, because body paint came to really hit its heyday in the 60s and 70s with this artist named Kusama from Japan. And she was using body paint as an anti-war protest movement. Actually, it wasn't even anti-war. Like you just said, like there's so many things that are anti, and we need to have art that's for something.
Yeah.
She did that. She wanted art to be for peace and art to be for love. So she staged like gay orgies and would like body paint people with these dots to show that people were all and the environment with the dots, to talk about kind of how on a cellular level everything is blending in with each other.
Yeah.
There isn't this separation that we create like you're talking about. We focus too much on the negative differences instead of the fact that like everything is a part of everything and will always be that way. It always recycles. And so it actually came to the States as sort of like a pro-love, pro-peace sort of a situation. So I love that you're still connecting a little bit, even maybe unknowingly, like to this art history of body paint.
Well, I mean, and it makes sense because I feel that, that creating for is so important. Like, so much of our vocabulary is fighting against. We're fighting against this, we're fighting against that. And we define ourselves by what we are against. So even just that word fight, like it implies a certain mindset. And I think it's important to be here and now and definitely feel and be responsible for what's happening. And grief, I think, is really important right now, to feel the sadness and the grief of the world and take action. But also the other side of the coin, I think, is that creation piece. Like what is the actual world that we want to step into? Like how do we create that more beautiful world that our hearts knows is possible? As my favorite philosopher Charles Eisenstein says, it's just like, I think as artists we are visionaries and we can create a vision of that future so that we know what we're moving toward. So rather than running away from something, having something in the future, a beautiful vision that can pull us forward and inspire us to take action.
Yeah, I love that.
I think my favorite body painting mixed with the experience was a fundraiser party. It was an Andy Warhol fundraiser party, or themed party. And I was painted into flower painting or print. And the party was happening at the same time. So people were walking by and experiencing it, and experiencing the process. I think the process is as important, if not more so, than the product. I think that's beautiful that you can share that process piece, the transformation. And so as I'm being painted into this painting, again, not knowing what I look like, but seeing out into the room, and there are people who are way across the room who kind of do a glance, and then they take another glance, and they like pull somebody else over, and they start pointing and talking and staring, and just to see again that wonder and that double take of like the world can be a magical place.
Yeah, it can.
And so having that, and then getting painted into the painting, and then the music playing and just coming to life and like dancing as an Andy Warhol painting.
Not too many people get to really
this is
experience that. What is it like to dance as an Andy Warhol painting?
It was pretty incredible.
Warhol himself probably wasn't even a Warhol painting. He's probably really jealous.
Yeah. So again, the vulnerability of being painted in front of people and allowing myself to be seen, and then the freedom and the courage to just dance and have fun and play.